The holiday tradition, a Birkwood Farm ham. It's the highlight of the meal, the centerpiece of the table. It's what brings families together. The Iowa tradition, from Iowa farmers. Birkwood Farms hams are gluten, MSG, allergen, and nitrate free. Buy yours now at the Birkwood Farm store on the south side of Ankeny or at betterpork.com. Order yours today. Your family's favorite holiday memory, a Birkwood Farm ham.
Murph and Andy, proudly presented by Ramsey Subaru and BMW of Des Moines. Live and on demand across Iowa everywhere. From the Channel Seed Studios. This is Murph and Andy. Murph and Andy. Connected by Cellular Advantage.
Let's do it. It's Murph and Andy on a Monday here on Iowa Everywhere, coming at you live from the Channel Seed Studio alongside Andy Fales and Andrew Downs. I'm Keith Murphy. And Andy, AD, how about that new Iowa Wild ad? Sounded like a Broadway show production.
Sounded like an 80s sitcom, didn't it?
I was the only one in the world who got to see Murph dance to that. It was great.
I know it was. I just was not expecting that. Guest House Tavern in West Des Moines sets the table for sports and more today. Coming up on the show, the Cyclones thumped, bowl apathy, and frost lesson. Not a frost warning, a frost lesson. That is all coming up, but we get it started with a higher low since the last show.
Presented by Wealth Charter Retirement Planning and Tax.
Well, Charter in Ankeny, simplifying wealth. And Andy, you going high or low to get the week started?
I'm going to go low. I mean, it's a Monday, so it's hard to go high on a Monday.
Right.
But, oh, man, it was a beautiful weekend, so I had a lot to do because that snow leapfrogged me, and I was not ready for that. But it all melted away, and we had a really good weekend. So I had to get everything done outside that I possibly could, which included climbing up and down on the ladder repeatedly, hanging Christmas lights yesterday, the big long ladder, and moving that, 3 feet at a time all around. I am so sore this morning. Oh my God. I'm feeling my age. Just all that stuff. Then I was, getting up leaves and moving plants, clearing up, putting away the deck furniture, finally getting all that stuff put away. So I am sore.
Where are the Christmas tree hanging muscles? Like, where is that soreness?
They are like a little used muscle that I don't think sees any other action the rest of the year. So when you finally do put them into, ask them to spring to work at this time of the year, they let you know about it the next day.
Well, it sounds like you had a productive day. That's good. I'm also going low. It's a kind of a Monday tradition, I guess. Although we've had some highs on a Monday, but for me is just being out there. We were at Confluence. They had the big screen up, had a couple of good beers in front of us. And Jenny, who's an Iowa State alumna, she's sitting there in her Cyclone jersey. And in the first quarter, she's so happy. And she's sending text messages to our son, Colin, who goes to Arizona State. And Jenny's just feeling it. It's 7-3. And she's sending messages to Colin like, hey, Sparky, sit and spin, stuff like that. It's pretty aggressive smack talk. And then it's just 3 quarters of having to take it. Like the rest of the time she just has to take it because Colin's coming back and he's returning serve as he should after the first message sent is Sparky, sit and spin.
Who's Sparky?
That's the Arizona State Sun Devil mascot.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So,
That's a cool jersey, though, that she's got on.
Yeah, that's
Jack Trice.
The Jack Trice
Will
jersey. Yeah. That's 20. That must have been purchased in 2023. I somehow didn't realize that each year. I really did think, oh, who's 21 on the team? Who's 22? Who's 23? I finally have caught up to, next year there will be a 25. Pretty quick.
Sometimes I imagine there's a dual meeting. I mean, Brees Hall was 20, and if he got his jersey in 2020, that made sense.
Worked out well. That's right. All right, let's get the buzz here on a Monday.
The Buzz. Brought to you by Logier Heating and Cooling.
Arizona State leaves, no doubt, routes Iowa State in the Big 12 championship game. The final is 45-19. I can sense already the Cyclone fan fatigue on discussion of this game, but it was the biggest game in the 133-year football history of Iowa State, so it needs more discussion. It went into the game as either Iowa State slightly favored, Arizona State slightly favored, or just a pick'em. And Andy, unlike the other conference championship, or at least the high-profile ones that played out this weekend, this was not close. I mean, Arizona State won this going away.
Yeah, right. I mean, it was close early. The first half of the game was fine, or up until maybe the final 2 minutes of the first half. But Iowa State was in this, but then it just immediately the tide changed irreversibly after that, and then it was not close.
Let's get to the rewind. As Andy mentioned, it did start well. This is what led to a Sparky sit and spin. This is Iowa State in the first quarter.
First and goal from the 3, fake handoff, back to throw, dumps it out, caught, touchdown, Carson Hansen. A beautifully called play by Taylor Mauser.
John Walters on Learfield, courtesy of Learfield. The video from WHO 13's Mark Freund. Also some video in there from Mark Woodley, our friend at KWW. Also appreciate that. So this is a good start. Arizona State gets that field goal. Iowa State answers with a good drive. And you kind of even saw it as a good sign that Arizona State just got a field goal. Because how many times has the opponent marched down the field against Iowa State this year? Half the games?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a big concern for much of this season, certainly for the first half of the season. And, I really thought, and we can all, kind of debate our game turning point plays here. And when the final score is that lopsided, I mean, the answer is there was no turning point. But I thought that a huge play early on that absolutely changed the complexion of the game was Arizona State going for it on 4th and 6. And Iowa State gets a pass rush and nearly gets to the quarterback, but he's able to deliver downfield this bomb, right? This long gain on 4th down that, sets them up for a touchdown and just completely changes the complexion of that point of the game, where it looked like Iowa State had offensive momentum and they had defensive momentum. And then all of a sudden the defensive part just went bye-bye. And then from that point on, all of their weaknesses just seemed to be exposed over and over again defensively.
Yeah, it was a big balls call too to make that call. And Levitt, the Arizona State quarterback, he's without his 1,000-yard receiver, Tyson, and Rocco
he
Becht
didn't miss
has,
him.
Yeah, Rocco Becht has both of his 1,000-yard receivers, but really Levitt played well at that quarterback position. The difference in the game, though, would be we learn in the second quarter that nobody can tackle the bowling ball and cleats Cam Scatterbo.
Here is Scatterbo, and this is exactly what he does. How did he stay on balance there? Look at him go! Scatterbo inside the 30.
That audio is courtesy of ESPN and ABC. John Sears and I last night on Sound Off, we ran that play a couple of times. We were counting it up. It's the 7th Cyclone that gets Scatterbo on that carry. The 7th. I mean, for some people did not know. Maybe they had heard the name because it's a memorable name, Cam Scatterbo. But many people had not seen him play yet. He just has that low center of gravity, but surprising moves, lateral quickness. He's fast, too. He's not just a guy who can run over you. But Andy, as Matt Campbell said last week, he compared him to David Montgomery. Scadaboo is a guy who looks for contact. Like, he wants to run you over. And it was a combination of he's really that good, and Iowa State's tackling was horrible.
Yeah, maybe you don't take him seriously because he's at Arizona State. He's not at a powerhouse school. He's a guy that he was a JUCO guy, right? I mean, they pulled him out of there. But he's legit great. And they're trying to arm tackle him, which is just clearly pointless. But I mean, not only did you have to take his legs out, you needed a good, clean hit on his legs to take him down. So it couldn't be, a bunch of guys trying to grab him together and, bumping into each other and getting one good arm on him. I mean, it needed to be, one lead tackler, wrapping up his legs, followed by a couple of others to help bring him down. I mean, there was just so much concern for him. Anytime you have a back like that, we are reminded. It's funny because we've gone through this generation, like running backless generation. And I think a lot of people have forgotten how valuable that weapon is, because not only are they getting, can they get you yards and, take better care of the football, but they also eat time off the clock. So you've got like 3 good things going for you when you have a great back, right? I mean, you don't have to risk a quarterback completing a pass and a receiver coming down cleanly with it and hanging on to the ball. You've got one guy, if he's sure-handed, he's going to hang on to it, and then he's eating up the clock. And that player was doing all 3 of those things against Iowa State.
And he can catch the ball out of the backfield too. He has more than 500 yards out of the backfield, so he can do it all. And it's what, 24-10 at the half. And the officials did miss a pass interference call that no doubt hurt Iowa State, changed the momentum a little bit, because then Conradi misses the field goal, and you could feel that was a deflating moment. But that's not the difference in this game. There are calls missed both ways. I know we showed last night on Sound Off, there's a photo of an Arizona State guy going to catch the ball, and the Cyclone defender is already just draped all over him before the ball gets there. I mean, PI calls happen the entire game. You can't hang the loss on that. But Matt Campbell and Iowa State really mismanaged the clock at the end of that half, too. They let Arizona State go down, add to the touchdown.
Well, they went 3 and out, right? I mean, you thought they were going to chew up some time there, but that point, the offense had run aground also.
Right, and you had a feeling, give it back to Arizona State, this is going to end in a Cam Scadaboo touchdown, or it's going to end in an Arizona State touchdown before the half. That is what happened, and at least the people we were sitting with at Confluence, they were all Cyclone fans, and there was not one who had confidence going into the second half that Iowa State was about to mount a comeback. Now you get into that second half, and I've heard many people say and comment that the 3 turnovers are what killed Iowa State. It already felt mostly over to me before those 3 turnovers, but yeah, that's it after that.
It killed their chance at a comeback.
Like that. Yeah, it completely ended the game with 2 Abusama fumbles and a Rocco Beck interception that went off a guy's helmet.
Smacked off the back of his head.
You don't really see that. So that kind of ends the game. Iowa State does add a meaningless late score that makes it look a little better at 45-19. But it was a bad time for Iowa State to have what I would say is the second worst game of the season. I think Kansas probably still ranks number 1. Would you agree? Or do you think it's this?
I think it's this. I mean, the Kansas game was a really, really bad start. Then they showed some life toward the end. I mean, Arizona State is much better than Kansas, but Iowa State just did not play well in this game. I mean, really all of the units combined for a bad game. But they just seemed very truly exposed by an opponent who was not just having a good game, but just legit better than they were. legit better and having a good game at the same time. So I felt like, and then obviously the magnitude of this game, I think has to figure in on whether or not you decide this was their worst performance, because they just absolutely had to have their best. And I think they got their worst. And, look, it was still a really great season for this team. This is something that we are used to seeing as fans of teams in this state, whether it's Iowa State or Iowa or Drake or UNI. It seems like they get to these huge moments, and it just doesn't seem like our team ever wins. Right? I can't think of a time where they have.
I saw where Mark Woodley and Mark Freund both pointed out they had been to multiple conference championship games. I think it's 4 for Woodley and 3 for Freund, and they have yet to see a win, and they've seen nothing but blowouts, whether it's the Hawkeyes or the Cyclones, going back all the way to the close call when Iowa played Michigan State down to that final drive. Since then, it has not been close, and this game wasn't close. And we're reminded that Iowa State's defense was kind of held together with duct tape through this season with all those injuries. And that was exposed. The word used was exposed, and that's a good word, Andy. Cam Scatterbo exposed that. I mean, you couldn't hold him with duct tape. And then that opened up the passing game, and Levitt's good. So this Arizona State team, it's an easy team to respect and like. I think a lot of Cyclone fans will continue to hope that Arizona State does well in the playoff, got the 4 seed. That's tough to see. I mean, if you're Iowa State, yes, you can make the argument this was the greatest football season ever. I think you could argue the other side of that too, but it's certainly the first 10-win season, but there's some context there for longer seasons. But you can say, you could make the case, so this the best season ever, but you also have to watch the team that if you had beaten, you'd probably be in that spot. A college football playoff bye. I mean, you're not just in the playoff. You would have a bye in the playoff. And that hurts. No doubt about that. That hurts. And also, the way the Cyclones finished this season, I don't think I thought about it until last night. The final 6 games, Iowa State's 3-3. I mean, they finished after starting 7-0. They've been 3-3. So this was not a strong finish.
Well, they got the 3 that they needed, right? I mean, they closed on a 3-game winning streak, and that was huge. But it got them into the championship game, but then they just fell flat, right? I mean, they were in this game in that they played in this game, but they were not in the game.
Yeah, but that's a point
not
too.
After the first quarter,
you can't lose the championship game unless you're in the championship game. So 14 other teams in the Big 12 watch these two play for the Big 12 championship. Should not lose sight of that. They're in the championship game.
Yeah, I mean, they got the wins that they needed to get. We said it again and again. This is a must win. They beat Cincinnati. Obviously finished with the win at home against Kansas State. I'm forgetting the other one in between there.
Utah.
Utah went to Utah and when they got those games done, those teams were not Arizona State. I think we can agree on that. This game was not at home, where Iowa State was a much different team, which, newsflash there, but it was they avoided a collapse this season. They did. They got to the Big 12 championship game.
Right.
I mean, that's worth a lot.
Now they're headed to the Pop-Tarts Bowl, which is in Orlando. I think some fans were hoping for the Alamo. The Alamo Bowl is a better location for a bowl game. It's all on the Riverwalk. It's convenient. It's a really well-run bowl game. Andy, we've been saying for years, Orlando is kind of an overrated bowl site. There's not a great place to congregate around this stadium. It is Orlando. It is Florida. People like going to Orlando. Some people like to go down there and turn it into a little vacation with their kids and whatnot. So not dumping on Orlando, but the Pop-Tarts Bowl, if you're going to be outside the college football playoff at a time where the bowls are increasingly less meaningful, at least the Pop-Tarts Bowl embraces the irreverence and the silly name.
This year, a bowl game of this, really of any level, unless it's one of the ones in the college football playoff, which is not a bowl game. They've just never been more irrelevant. And this is a site that Iowa State has been to a bunch of times. I mean, this could potentially be a little more fun because you've already heard from some Cyclone seniors who say they're going to play. Orlando is a good spot to travel to. It's easy to get to. You have a couple of different options as far as airports go. But I don't know. I mean, you knew what you really wanted. I mean, you wanted to play in this college football playoff, and instead you're going to go down to a bowl game, and those haven't gone they haven't gone very well under Matt Campbell either. So, I mean, I don't know that you're even feeling confident in winning a bowl game. You're not feeling confident. You're feeling extra medium.
Well, and it's hard to know. I mean, Miami, which is
who are they going to have playing?
Yeah, Miami's a good opponent in name and branding, and we recognize those uniforms. And the Miami Hurricanes thought they should be in the college football playoff. They still think they should be in the college football playoff. But will we see the Miami team that thinks it should be in the college football playoff, or will it be something else? Also hearing from Miami that their players plan to play. We heard from Caleb Johnson after the Nebraska game that he planned to play for Iowa in the bowl game. Now he's not playing. And sometimes the schools discourage or at least try to ask that the guys hold off if they are opting out until some time has gone by so they can sell more travel packages to get to these bowl games. Because the reality of it is there are almost always some opt-outs by the time it actually gets here in a few weeks. But it is promising that both Miami and Iowa State has players saying they are going to play, including Miami's quarterback, who is going to be an NFL first-round pick, Cam Ward. Right now, he's saying he'll play. We'll see.
Yeah, I will be shocked if that happens. I would absolutely tell him not to play in this game if I was connected with him in any way. And I don't know how that's ever going to change with this level of bowl games, even if they – do decide to have the schools pay the players, or the players, have to play in the bowl game to get paid. So what? I mean, if you're going to the NFL,
right,
you'll sacrifice a little bit of money there to make sure that you're, ready to go for that NFL draft.
Yeah, Georgia just lost its quarterback by playing in a championship game when some other schools didn't have to play in the championship game. So it is complex, but this is Iowa State's third trip to this bowl game in the Matt Campbell era. It just doesn't seem like it. And here's why as we go to the Quickie Poll presented by WCI Pools and Spas.
Which name makes this Orlando Bowl a little better? Is it the Camping World Bowl, the Champs Sports Bowl, the Cheez-Its Bowl, or the Pop-Tarts Bowl?
So these are the four most recent names. There have been others.
The Capital One Bowl, right? The Tate to Holloway Cap One Bowl.
That's the Citrus Bowl.
Oh, okay.
This is the Tangerine
Bowl.
Tangerine Bowl. Yeah, this is various things. I covered Iowa State and Clemson in the Cheez-Its Bowl, which Iowa also played that week. But yeah, I think the early voters here are right in saying 58% right now are saying Pop-Tarts. At this point, if you have a bowl game, have fun with it. The Pop-Tarts Bowl, the Mayo Bowl, at least you know what it is. Like many of these bowl games, I don't even, like the
ReliaQuest, yeah.
I didn't even know what that was. That's the former Outback Bowl.
Yes.
Yeah, Trans-America Bowl, where the Hawkeyes are going, the Trans-America Music City Bowl.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Trans-America that's the pyramid in San Francisco.
Okay, see, that's called. I'm confused. Trans-Perfect Music City Bowl. I was listening to two guys here on Iowa Everywhere, and I hope you were too. And Matt Van Winkle pointed out this is some kind of translation app where you learn to speak another language.
Great.
Did you know that?
No. What? There are a number of those. Yeah.
Duolingo.
Yeah. I mean, there's a there's a trip to Nashville or a trip to Orlando. And I think that's the way that you just got to look at it and the way that you got to sell it. Because, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm not going to play along with these. I don't care about either of these bowls. I don't think most fans care about either of these bowls. I know it's good for the teams, to have a little more time with players and that. I mean, ultimately you'd rather go than not go, but these are expensive and they are relics of the old system that hung around for way too long, in my mind, the bowl system. And I feel like now the bowl promoters are like camp counselors, like jumping around trying to get everybody excited about something that, about basket weaving or something that they're not actually excited about. And it's just, we can remember a day where yesterday was a huge day. It was one of the big days of our year, bowl revelation day. Where are they going? Where are they going? And then there was this rush to buy tickets. And then the Monday following that, our stories were about, the John Millers of the world setting up these bowl trips. And there was so much excitement. They would get these private charters and the Hawkeye fans would fill them up one after another. And there was so much excitement, and that is just gone, right? I mean, it's gone.
It is.
And it's not the fault of the playoff. It's the fault of college football and these bowl games for waiting way too long to read the tea leaves.
If they want to have these bowls be attached as sponsors, they should let the bowl go by the name in the home campus of the home game in the playoffs. Get out of these neutral sites. Embrace what makes college football great, which is home games. Like, you look at the bracket, the college football playoff bracket, you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, December games at Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State. I mean, that's great. It's too bad it's not continuing into the next round, but it's awesome. Championship game, play at the Rose Bowl or some neutral site, but they need to fold these bowls into the system, which is likely going to expand because we're going to see how awesome this all is, even with all the griping and complaints. We're going to love it. But Andy, you're right. Right now, like Marco Lainez, quarterback at Iowa, into the transfer portal today. Iowa's going to go into this game with one scholarship quarterback against Missouri, and that will be Brendan Sullivan coming off an injury. The other quarterbacks will be walk-ons. There are other players who are leaving Iowa and going into the transfer portal. We don't even get through these bowl games before much of the team leaves or announces its intent to leave. And in some cases, the coaches leave. So to take it seriously, like Iowa has one main factor that makes watching the Hawkeye offense worth it, and that's Caleb Johnson. And he's not playing in this bowl game. So you're right. You're going to go into Nashville, have a great time. It's a fun place. It's a good destination. It's not nothing. I know some fans get angry. They're like, stop trying to say these bowl games don't mean anything. They don't. They're still important. They don't really mean anything unless they have some value to you as a vacation. I mean,
which is fine. I mean,
go enjoy.
One more reason to go to one of these fun cities. Not the best time of the year to go to Nashville, but some of these places, I honestly, I just think that they just need to cut their throats right now. I mean, there should not be a bowl game in Shreveport or Memphis or Detroit or even New York City. I mean, come on, man. I mean, you would never invent those today, right? I mean, if you just had a clean slate, you would not draw those up. Come up with another plan.
Another factor is our friend Ryan, who he's been to all Iowa State bowl games. For the first time since I think ever, he's not going to this one. He's like, look, we just spent a small fortune to go to the Big 12 championship game. And he's like one of many fans, and Ryan is hardly alone. I think a lot of fans are feeling this. They're feeling tapped out. Like, please give to the collective, give to NIL, get your seat license, pay for parking, donate a certain amount, buy season tickets. Go to the bowl game. Go to Ireland. Cyclone fans are constantly being asked to buy a trip to Ireland. There's just a lot of people are feeling tapped out. I mean, they are feeling like, okay, I don't have more discretionary income for this. And it'll also be interesting to see how this plays out in the college football playoff, because some of these teams that are going to play 3 or 4 games, I don't know how many fans are going to be able to keep up with that other than the really wealthy older boosters.
Well, they find a way to keep up with it in basketball. I mean, I know that's fewer fans, smaller arenas, but your team's making a run in the NCAA tournament. Those fans travel all over the place, and
They do.
You know,
Yeah,
I
that's a
mean,
good point.
not potentially they don't have to travel as much because if you got a really high seed, you're playing close to home, but still you're traveling, twice. And that's a lot. But my point is, if you're all revved up and there really is a giant carrot in front of your nose, you will find a way to get it done. But if this is the Pop-Tarts Bowl in Orlando again, and you've just gone to the Big 12 championship game in Dallas or spent a ton of money, done all the things that you just listed with the season, well, yeah, of course. There's every reason there's hardly any reason not to just go ahead and say, forget it. Unless you just are like, hey, we always take a family vacation at this time of the year. We got friends down in Orlando. It's a good place. You can at least it's still Orlando. Like I said, those other bowl games, though, I can't imagine how anybody would justify that. And I can't even remember what it felt like. Do you remember what it felt like when Iowa State got the bid to the Insight.com Bowl?
Oh, yeah.
People were just like, oh, yeah.
Huge deal.
They were so excited about that. And
filled that place.
Yeah, even when the Hawkeyes would go to Tampa, like repeatedly, they would still be excited about that. That's just gone. I mean, right? That's of another era. That's not something that fans get excited about anymore. I mean, you got to have more than that. That's like, kids getting all pumped because, like, I remember my mom telling me, oh my God, it was great Christmas. We would get up and sometimes in our stocking, there'd be an orange. And we never got oranges. And you're just like, yeah, that's so sweet, Mom. I love the fact that you told me that story, but that is impossible to relate to now. You can get an orange anywhere. It's just, just some of these things we've got like one foot still in this bygone era.
ReliaQuest Bowl is not where Iowa's going. It is the Music City in Nashville. AD, what was the buzz, at least as you understand it, Hawkeye Nation and other places? It seemed like the trend was toward Tampa and the ReliaQuest, formerly Outback, but then there's this late switch as some dominoes fall.
Yeah.
Is this seem like a choice that is making the fan base happier, or is Missouri back at this is the third time in 5 years Iowa's gotten this bid. Now in 2020 they didn't play the game because Missouri dropped out due to COVID numbers.
I think that's like the only interesting part of this is it's a rematch of the game that never happened in 2020. I guess there's like the border aspect of it.
They have played Missouri in a bowl game
they
before,
have
though.
in the Insight Bowl or something. What again, it doesn't matter.
Like
in
that.
Arizona.
I think people would have liked to go back to the Tampa Bowl, the Outback ReliaQuest Bowl more than this. But again, there's just no buzz for these games anymore, and understandably so. Like somebody said, it's 15 extra practices for next year's team. These bowl games now feel more like an extension of next year than they do of this past season. So, like, as an Iowa fan, it's like, hey, if Brendan Sullivan is healthy, we'll get to see him. We'll get to see next year's running backs.
But there's a good chance the quarterback next year is not even in this game.
Right. You hope so, right? Like you hope that most of your team that you're going to go out and get via the transfer portal will be a completely different team starting next season. So it'll be fun once the game kicks. You'll be emotionally invested as a fan because that's just the way it works when your team is on the field. But there's no buzz for this game at all.
College football playoff released the bracket. The committee did, and it's a big improvement. I don't want to lose sight of that. This is exciting. It's a big improvement. I know last night on Sound Off, I think 85% of people voting said the committee got it right. I think much of that is aimed at 3-loss Alabama not getting in, and SMU getting that final spot is going to be one or the other. And one of the, as you look at this, I think we can see probably some tweaks need to be made. I mean, should Boise State and Arizona State get the buys? you probably want to guarantee that the highest rated conference champions are in the bracket, but do they need to get buys?
Yeah.
That's probably going to be discussed. One of the things that jumps out at me, Andy, AD, is how in the world does Oregon have a much tougher path than Penn State does, for instance? I mean, Oregon is going to have to play the Tennessee-Ohio State winner and then play Texas in Texas in all likelihood, and then Georgia in the national championship game if it follows chalk. Penn State, which really didn't have big wins, gets SMU, then would play Boise State.
Yeah, we shouldn't get Oregon, Ohio State in Oregon's first game, right? I mean, they've already beaten Ohio State this year. It doesn't look like this was laid out right. It looks like they had the right chips. They just didn't arrange them correctly. But look, I mean, it does give us some really compelling TV.
Yes.
And we've said that repeatedly, that's the only thing that matters, which, I don't want to believe that's the only thing that matters, but if that's your argument, there's some really compelling TV in here. I mean, the whole top half of that bracket to me is really interesting.
I remind you, these are student athletes, and the main point of all of this, Andy, is an education.
Right. Yes.
That was beaten into me for 50 years.
Yes. Making sure that they're still able to keep up with their studies. While they're traveling all over the place here. Indiana Notre Dame is a really interesting game. Georgia should be the 2 seed. I think they should be there. SMU, Penn State, I think to me that's the least interesting first round game. But what if SMU is legit? This is another thing you wanted to see, right? With this format, you wanted to see teams like that get their shot. Have their chance.
I do think that the biggest issue I see is that both, I would argue that Penn State is a much easier route than Oregon, who beat them. And then I think Texas got an easier route than Georgia, even though they lost the SEC championship game on Saturday night, because Clemson, while it's a big brand, it hasn't been a great team all season. Right. And then Arizona State, we just saw what Cam Skadaboo can do. I'm not saying they're a terrible team, but I'd rather play Arizona State than play Notre Dame in that quarterfinal round. And so they need to do something with those conference championship games. We laid it out last week. You're better off not making the game, and now it seems like you're better off losing the game than winning, and that's a real problem.
The thing that has been most frustrating to me these past 24 hours is listening to Alabama fans, the athletic director, coach, players, everybody saying things like, well, Nick Saban, this really has us reconsidering our out-of-conference schedule, because strength of schedule doesn't mean anything. So I think we're going to have to rethink our out-of-conference schedule. Your out-of-conference schedule has nothing to do with why Alabama is not in this bracket. And you can argue that Alabama should be in. But Alabama lost to Vanderbilt, and Alabama just a few weeks ago went to a mediocre Oklahoma team, scored 3 points, and got smoked. Those are not non-conference games. Why does Alabama keep saying, well, you got to rethink the non-conference since it doesn't mean anything? You lost in conference. All 3 Alabama losses are in conference.
Well, I think everybody should rethink their non-conference schedule. We've all been saying that. Yeah, get rid of the patsies that you have in there. You're not talking about, the main problem right now, but that is a problem.
But they're going the other way. They're making it sound like,
look, anytime you want to bring it up.
Why schedule Wisconsin if it's not going to help Alabama at all? Well, it probably did help. You did beat Wisconsin, Alabama did, but Wisconsin ends the season 5-7. That's not a good football team. Who else did Alabama play? They played Western Kentucky, played University of South Florida, played Mercer, which
get rid of that game.
What is that? What are you talking about, Alabama? Stop trying to gaslight us that your non-conference schedule has something to do with why you're not in the playoff. Your conference
Western
schedule.
Kentucky.
Yeah, it's your conference schedule that's keeping you out of the
South
playoff, Alabama.
Florida. Yeah, right. Well, but again, that is a problem, and that is something that this new system should shed light on. We should cut the fat on some of these ridiculous games that these top programs keep scheduling each year so they can get easy wins. But yeah, that isn't the problem at hand.
Yeah, they play 8. SEC plays 8 conference games. The Big 12, the Big 10 play 9. SEC needs to at least come up to 9, but we've been saying for a while, and Nick Saban agreed with this yesterday, go to 10. Go to 10 games. Get a bigger sample size to decide some of this, because there's not a way to have true equity in scheduling. Scott Frost, former Nebraska coach, former Nebraska quarterback, returns to UCF, where he led them to a perfect season one time. He is already a rich man, but it sounds like Scott Frost has learned an important lesson.
You know, when you're climbing the ladder of success in life, sometimes they forget to tell you to stop when you're happy. That being said, there was a lot of pressure. And the biggest thing for me is my dad wasn't doing well, and I got to spend time with him. My wife and I were lucky enough to have 2 daughters born at the next place I went. And you have good times and bad times everywhere, and this game, sometimes you get it done and sometimes you don't. We did the right things here and pushed the right buttons and got it done, and I think we can do that again. In fact, I know we can do that again if we do the right things. UCF, to me, is unique in the country because it's still in its infancy. It might be a toddler now. When I came before, maybe it was in its infancy. But most schools in the country, when you look at the landscape of college football, are kind of pegged where they are. And generally speaking, that's where they're going to be. I always thought since the first time I came until now that the potential for growth and status in college football is bigger here than it is other places. And I'm excited to take the challenge to try to get it there.
Well, I like this from Scott Frost. I mean, we've had some fun with him. He failed so badly, face planted at Nebraska, but I understood why he went and took that job, and there was a lot of pressure on him. And Andy, he does sound humbled, and he's right. I agree with his point completely. You don't always have to reach for the next rung on the ladder. Sometimes it's okay to stop and go, you know what?
I'm happy.
I'm happy where I am. I like my life. I think I'll stay here. So I think what he said was cool. And I also had to remind myself, oh, that's right. UCF's in the Big 12. He's going to coach against Iowa State.
Right. Yeah. You've forgotten about that. Yeah. This wasn't it wasn't a money grab to go to Nebraska. That was his alma mater. That was a very logical, made all the sense in the world. From his perspective, from Nebraska's, nobody is faulting him for taking that job. It didn't work out. It was a miserable failure, but I mean, it's still on paper at first made all the sense in the world. But, if you're a fan of a team like Drake or Northern Iowa or even Iowa State or Iowa, for sure, or for Iowa State or Iowa, if you're a fan of teams, of our teams, when you lose a coach to a bigger program, you daydream about this possible scenario, right? Well, maybe, because I can remember, Keno Davis leaving Drake and thinking, well, maybe if it doesn't work out at Providence, he'll come back to Drake. Or Nico Medved. He actually sent me a text message saying, look, if it doesn't work out,
send me the same one.
Colorado State, I'm coming back. Or Darren DeVries or anybody, I mean, you think about it, you're like, oh man, I love that guy so much here. Maybe if it doesn't work out at the next step, he'll come back because he'll be welcome here. Didn't burn a bridge. Well, Nico Medved really burned some bridges, but the others, you know how it is. And then it very rarely seems to happen, but sometimes it does. And so if you're a Central Florida fan, you remember nothing of Scott Frost's time at Nebraska. You don't care. You just remember what he did with your team. And now your team is in a better situation and a better conference. He comes back. He's the difference. You're having a good day.
We do need to move along, but we would be remiss without mentioning the mind-boggling contract that Juan Soto just got. 15 years, $765 million with the Mets.
The Mets just getting them from the Yankees. Those teams just trading obnoxious contracts.
$765 million.
15 years. When's the last time a contract that long worked out for a baseball team?
Oh, my goodness. That's crazy. All right, more coming up in just a moment. First, how about some story time with Andy?
I was just laughing about this myself because this is a big weekend for Christmas parties. Mm-hmm. We had a neighborhood party. There were parties all over the place. And I was talking to my good friend, Eric, the nonviolent Illini.
Now, what makes him nonviolent?
Well, he's not a fighting Illini. He's, he's pretty chill.
He's not a guy to come up and just punch you in the forehead.
No. He gets real serious though at times. If you're talking about his team and stuff like that. But he runs a company down outside St. Louis on the Illinois side, and he had a Christmas party this weekend, and he had to kick a guy. He had to escort a guy out of one of his employees out of the Christmas party. And he was, apparently the guy was not drunk. That was my first question, of course, was how drunk was he? But he was making like crotch grabbing gestures at some other guy. Like he was it was like a dinner theater or something they did. It's something crazy. I couldn't really even grasp it, but they were doing some kind of performance, and the guy brings in the crotch grab, and he's doing it in the direction of somebody else's wife. And Eric is just like, whoa, all right, dude, you got to chill out. He's like, you can't do this. Take it down a notch. And then the guy takes it up a notch from there. And so
instead of down, he goes up.
He goes up. And Eric was like, look, you can't do dick jokes, in front of the crowd at a Christmas party, a company Christmas party. And he's like, no, I said penis. And Eric is like, I don't think I was reaching him. So he escorted him out, but he did immediately employ Dalton's 3 steps.
Oh, he did?
Rules. Yes.
Go back over those if you would.
Never underestimate your opponent. So I assume that Eric looked down for, at a boot to make sure there was no blade coming out of that, or
no one wants to be shanked.
Wanted to make sure that the guy wasn't doing a spade ball or something like that. He wasn't on, PCP or just some crazy drug. Take it outside. He took him outside.
Right. No one wants broken furniture.
Nope. No, you don't want a scene.
Right.
In the party. You take it outside. You walk him. If he won't walk him.
You walk him. Yeah.
He takes him outside, and then be nice. Said he was nice the whole time. Told the guy what got him kicked out of the party, didn't let him back in, but he was nice about it. And then I think the guy ended up seeing the error of his ways.
Be nice until it's time to not be nice.
That makes me laugh, having to escort somebody out of your company Christmas party.
Confluence is the official beer of Murph and Andy. Thanks to Mark and the gang that treated us so well this past Saturday. Helpful with beer selections, all of it. They're always so nice to everybody. People get intimidated sometimes about, I'm not sure what I like, and they're always so good about helping people with their order. So fun watch party there for the Big 12 championship game. We stayed the whole time. We ordered a pizza in and ate about 3 canisters of pretzels. Good time. Oh. Right now, let's get some more here on a Monday.
But wait, there's more from Either or Eatery and Patio.
Let's start out with a note from listener Denton Hopkins, which sounds to me like a classic tractor. It's a 1952 Denton Hopkins with the fast hitch and the 20 horse drawbar.
Yeah, it does.
So he says, he writes and says, "Hi guys, just thought I'd share. We had a great time at Either or on Saturday. Beautiful weather and outdoor setting, as well as the Christmas decor inside. Wouldn't have known about tinsel if it weren't for Murph and Andy. Try the eggnog cheesecake. Signed, Denton Hopkins." There you go.
The eggnog cheesecake. Okay. I'd try it.
Fantastic. He went, tinsel still going on at Either or through Christmas, through the end of the year, in fact. Want to make an appointment to check that out. Their Christmas pop-up they have there at 6222 Grand Avenue. Police in Northeast Iowa stopped a man doing 126 miles per hour on Highway 20 near Manchester this weekend. He was driving with a license which had been revoked due to an OWI. So I pose this question to you. Which happens first? This guy finds affordable car insurance, or Manchester, Iowa gets an NFL team? He already had the OWI, the revoked license.
Yeah.
Then he disregards those and drives 126 miles per hour.
Affordable insurance?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the NFL team. I mean, maybe there'll be something we don't see coming, like every city somehow has a franchise in some kind of subdivision. This guy's never going to have affordable insurance.
Have you ever driven over 100 miles an hour?
I've been in a car that's gone over 100 miles an hour.
Were you driving it?
No. I've never driven over 100.
I honestly, other than the couple of times I've been on a racetrack, I have not driven over 100 miles an hour. It's scary.
It is. I did once in high school. Shout out, Mom and Dad, if you're watching, with my mom's.
This is the kind of thing parents learn once you're out of the house.
Yeah, exactly.
I have ridden in a
scary,
car.
Man. As soon as I got up there, the car started to kind of shake, and I felt completely out of control. That's one of the scariest things I've ever done.
I mean, there are cars out there that can go, just everyday cars that you'll see out there that can go 170 miles an hour. It's just incredibly fast. But to actually drive them that fast is something completely different.
I've done the race car thing, and then I was in the car a long time ago with my friend Ted Sheely, and he got it up to like 120, and I was really mad. Like it's the only time I was ever mad at him, because
it was a race car on a track.
No, this was on the. I've done the race car thing up to 140 or so.
Ted, this was somewhere else.
Yeah, this is a friend that on the open highway went that fast, and man, I was scared.
It is scary. Yeah, I think I've done 120 miles an hour, but never. No, this is 126, and the guy should have been driving at all.
Man.
This weekend, Notre Dame hosted its first mass since the 2019 fire that we can all remember. That gigantic fire burned the iconic spire and really all of the wood underpinnings throughout the rest of the cathedral, or much of the rest of the cathedral. The stone and lead ceilings apparently were those are the reasons that those things stayed intact, and one of the big reasons the whole thing didn't collapse. But still, 5 years it took to get mass back to Notre Dame there in Paris. Keith, I assume you've seen this up close.
I have, and it's
church is just
it's
huge.
beautiful. It made me really sad when it burned,
So
and I'm not surprised it took 5 years. But if this photo is from this weekend, it looks really good.
Mm-hmm. And it's amazing. Like we think we have old stuff in America.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the rose windows in Notre Dame are from the 13th century.
Jeez.
Like 1200. Jeez. And now, Keith would like to take another look at the Facebook flea market.
This is Facebook Marketplace.
Here we find a pair of shoes, Banana Republic, size 11. They're free. If anybody would like these shoes.
Right. They're still there. We checked this morning.
What else did we
there?
What else we find on the Facebook Marketplace? These Adidas Sambas, which they want $50 for.
$50.
That's how much are new ones?
Did Ronaldo wear them or something?
$60?
$50. Look at those crappy shoes.
Totally beat up.
Just clean them up or something, man.
Those are Goodwill. Take those to the Goodwill. Hand them down to a younger cousin, and then the coup de grace, the boho wedding boots for $100. What is this? Eskimo meets High Plains Drifter?
It looks like there's some is that a peacock feather on the side?
I don't know. There's like fur and cockle shells and cowboy
They do look warm. I would have worn these to that Iowa State Kansas State game and been happy.
$100. I want to know if they sell these things. I want to see that transaction take place. Oh, good stuff. And now here's a 1970s sports star with a very 1970s commercial.
I'm Terry Bradshaw. When I want to pass, I go to the pocket. And when I want a good chew, I go to my pouch of Red Man chewing tobacco. To me, the flavor's the best and it outlasts the rest. Because that ripe, tender leaf tobacco has a rich flavor that's welded in to last longer. So put a pouch in your pocket.
Oh,
man, that's Red Man, America's best chew.
Special effects and everything.
Commercial for chewing tobacco with an NFL quarterback who is chewing. He's got a big wad in as he's dropping back to pass.
Pulls a huge chew out of there.
And the chewing tobacco is called Red Man.
Red Man. Great
like
big Indian
all
on the
of
side.
that is just a very 70s commercial, as you said.
And there were Johnny Bench did was that Skoll that he ever just a pinch between your cheek and gum gives you a great tobacco taste.
The guy I remember doing that the most was Walt Garrison. Remember Walt Garrison of the Cowboys? He was always
I think
doing
that's
Skoll.
predating me. Yeah, Skoll, Red Man, Levi Garrett.
Yeah, you just little
Just
pinch
a
between
huge
cheek and gum.
chew. From Merriam-Webster, here are the words that were almost the word of the year for 2024. Totality, demure, fortnight, pander, resonate, elision. That was a big word this year. Elision. Used the word elision before?
No.
There's a collision. That is when two moving objects collide. An elision is where a moving object collides with a stationary one, like they had in Baltimore, in the port of Baltimore, where the big container ship hit the bridge.
So a car that hits a tree is an elision?
That's an elision. Yeah, that's an elision. Weird, cognitive, and democracy. But the word of the year is polarization.
Jeez.
And that is division into two sharply distinct opposites, especially a state in which the opinions, beliefs, or interests of a group or society no longer range along a continuum but become concentrated at opposing extremes. And finally, Tyreek Hill is sharing pictures of his newest child. Here he is at the hospital with his new daughter, and for some reason, he has his shirt off.
Yeah, that's
assume he's
kind
not
of
breastfeeding.
It does almost look like breastfeeding, but yeah, it's not.
Why does Tyreek Hill have his shirt off in the hospital?
Maybe he just did some push-ups, or
was he making another baby right before this picture was taken?
If anybody could stop at a room and start an affair, it might be Tyreek Hill.
This is at least his 7th child with at least 5 different women. He's not that old. Though he is rumored to have at least 4 more kids with at least 3 other women. This guy, his sperm has outboard motors on it or something like that. I mean, it just moves. All right, finally, Apple is the best managed company in the United States. According to the Wall Street Journal's annual list, more than 800 companies evaluated using 5 categories: customer satisfaction, innovation, social responsibility, employee engagement, and development and financial strength. Yeah, I could see Apple being like that type of company. Yeah. Plus, you'd probably they would just insist that you had updated phones and laptops and MacBooks and all that kind of stuff. All right, one more thing. Finally, we have reached the time of the year when the sun is setting at 4:44 p.m. That is that. No. That is the earliest sunset of the entire year. It will not get earlier than that. Sunrise is still getting later. The sun came up at 7:28 today. Sunrise will get as late as 7:41 before beginning to get earlier in January. Right now, we have only 9 hours, 15 minutes of daylight per day. Now, that number will fall all the way down to 9 hours, 9 minutes, 38 seconds on December 21st, which is, of course, the winter solstice. And then the days start getting longer once again. So we're almost there. Almost there to the point where we can start coming out of the darkness. Not that that helps a whole lot because we know we still have January and February ahead. But you can at least file that away upstairs and say, look, it is getting a little bit better. And that's your more, everybody.
Thank you, Andy. The Birkwood Bullseye is back. You can email us at Murph_Andy at iowaeverywhere.com for a chance at shooting for Birkwood Farms prizes while we broadcast live from the Birkwood Farms shop at Northeast 14th Street in Des Moines. That's Friday, December 20th. So tell us how you'd use the Birkwood Farms product to make your holidays better. And then all contestants will go home with something nice. Anybody who wins and has a shot at the Birkwood Bullseye will go home with something nice. Today's winner is Joe Strotman. Joe writes, I could use some bacon and sausage for Christmas brunch, and I love the nitrate-free products that Birkwood Farms offers. So congratulations, Joe. You will be shooting at that bullseye in a week from Friday. It's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah,
right?
December 20th. Yep,
December 20th. Yeah,
20th. Yeah,
jeez.
wow. That is
Thanksgiving was so late that it's like I've lost a week.
You only got 3 weeks in between, Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Be ready for that. All right, time now for Throwdowns.
Throwdowns. It's Throwdowns. Backed by Heartland Tire and Auto.
Let's throw it down, Murph. Twice this weekend, I saw fans upset at reporters who broke news that would be publicly announced just a few minutes later. First, it was Friday, Kate Martin to the Valkyries, and then yesterday, Brett McMurphy reported that SMU would edge out Alabama in the college football playoff. Got some reaction there. Do you have an issue with people breaking news and ruining the suspense for things that are about to become public anyway?
I don't. This is their job. And if he gets that information, he can share that information. I think if you don't want to know, you got to get off your phone. Yeah. Close X or Blue Sky or Facebook or whatever you're looking at and just enjoy it as a television show. But it's his job to try to get the information to people as fast as possible. So if you don't want it, don't look.
I think there probably are some exceptions that you could make. Certainly if you're breaking news about someone's death or something when your family members don't even know. And then I think there probably are some other revelations that it just isn't going to make that big a difference to you. I mean, if it's Selection Sunday and stuff like that, and I don't know. I mean, if you're at a competing network, though, you would love to undercut them. I understand it both ways. I do like to have – I like the idea of something being able to be broken to the entire world all at once, right? But, in this day and age, good luck with that.
That's where I'm at with things like yesterday or Selection Sunday, where it's like they're about to announce it anyway. We're all kind of watching. There's one question in the entire thing. And, 5 minutes before they announce it on TV, you see it on Twitter. And you're right, it's my fault for being on Twitter. But
it spoiled it for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew it was coming after that because he's really good at this. He was also ahead of all the bowl announcements. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's got good sources, but if you don't want to know, you have to log off, I think.
Andy, the Chiefs survived another close game last night, winning on a doinked field goal and clinching the AFC West. Which is more true? The Chiefs are finding ways to win games, or the Chiefs are playing with fire and are due to be beaten?
I think they're finding ways to win games. I mean, they're not perfect, but they're almost perfect. They can have what looks like an off game like they had last night. They weren't lighting the world on fire, but they just sort of methodically marched down, got in field goal range, and just barely got – I mean, they just, they barely got the win, but they did get the win. And they are the best team in the NFL. They are the reigning Super Bowl champions, and it doesn't matter how those wins come. We know how hard it is to get that done in the NFL, and the fact that you are able to find a way just about week in and week out, I don't think there's any way that you can take anything away from that.
They have the one loss, so I think that's good for the Chiefs. They know that they're not going to get away with it every time, so they have that one loss. They're not unbeaten anymore as they try to make history and be the first team to win 3 straight Super Bowls. But what I can't figure out, I think most Chiefs haters realize that the fix is in, and this is all the NFL that's controlling all this. I don't understand how the NFL was able to get that upright to ricochet the ball in instead of out, but there must be just somebody sitting over at Buffalo Wild Wings with a joystick.
They had to shave it down so
there's
the
a
angle
slightly
was right.
flattened edge, on the inside there.
And he
it's
knew
the
to
opposite
hit
for the
that
Bears.
edge, like
It's
he
the
knew
opposite
which
for the Bears.
edge to aim for. Yeah,
They shave
the
it
fix
for the
is
Bears,
in,
so it
yeah.
goes the other way.
The
Fix is
NFL
in,
just,
man.
they want that big market in Kansas City with all the attention.
they want those Chiefs in.
All right, Murph, it's the Pop-Tart Bowl for the Cyclones. Do you toast your Pop-Tarts or eat them raw?
I like them both ways, and when I was in my Pop-Tart eating phase, I ate a lot of Pop-Tarts, especially chocolate fudge. Those are my favorites, but I prefer them lightly toasted, but not burned. Like just a little bit toasted where it's nice and warm inside. I don't like the all crispy edges.
Yeah, toasted is the right way to eat them, but you're right. They are a little bit like popcorn where they're like just a couple of seconds can make the difference between perfect and ruined. But I can remember a time where my breakfast was a bottle of Mountain Dew and 2 Pop-Tarts.
just a pile of sugar
24 years old. Yeah.
All right, that's Throwdowns.
All right. Thank you, AD. Nicely done. Grimaldi's fan photos. We remind you because every Friday we have a $50 gift card winner to Grimaldi's Coal Brick Oven Pizzeria and so much more. You send your fan photos, can be you enjoying a sporting event anywhere in the world, local, national, at any level. Can be friends, family, whatever you want. Murph_Andy at iowaeverywhere.com, just like some of these folks have shared with us. And then on Fridays, we'll send somebody over to Grimaldi's in either Ankeny at Prairie Trail or West Des Moines. Time for the Andrew Downs audio drop of the day. It's the AD Squared.
Yeah, it's powered by Game Day Men's Health, also in Ankeny and West Des Moines. I go to the one in Ankeny every Thursday and get my testosterone shot. You can go there yourself and get a free consultation. Head over to West Des Moines or North Liberty if you're on the eastern side of the state. Game Day Men's Health is where it's at. It was a rough weekend for the Cyclones, especially for the Cyclone football fans, I should say. I think the basketball team did all right. But Sound Off last night on WHO 13 did a great job, as you often do, of putting that feeling into video form with Mr. Sound Off himself.
Hey, Kobe. What's up? You're a Cyclone fan, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That had to hurt.
The sound effect, too, was fantastic.
Oh,
Great sound effect.
Yeah, there are a couple of Cyclone fans that
did not appreciate
asked that be taken down. It's completely inappropriate and not nice.
Well, but if they know our history, they see how far we've come.
Yes, yeah, and Cyclone fans, most of them,
we've gotten so much
fully
better.
embrace that at this point. Quickie poll results are presented by WCI Pools and Spas.
Which name makes this Orlando Bowl a little better? Pop-Tarts, the runaway leader here with 60% of the vote. Champ Sports is somehow second.
I had forgotten Champ Sports. Do you remember it being called Champ Sports Bowl?
Yeah. For a couple of years there. And Champ Sports that's a restaurant, isn't it? A restaurant.
Oh, is it? Did they have one out of Jordan Creek at one point?
They did have.
So
yeah, that's right.
Okay.
I'm surprised it's not Cheez-Its. That's my vote. I like Cheez-Its more than Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, the Cheez-Its Bowl was a good one.
Cheez-Its are good. The one problem there, they had Cheez-Its, as you would expect, available everywhere. And you can get where you don't want any more Cheez-Its, I found out. Like you eat enough of any one thing and you'd be like, all right, I thought I loved Cheez-Its. I need a break from Cheez-Its. And that'll happen with Pop-Tarts too. Last year I was at the Overlap. So anytime you would go in any media place, any media room, the media bar where you got your credential, anywhere, there were all the just Pop-Tarts everywhere. You could have all the Pop-Tarts you want. And that seems really fun. But as an adult, you can hit the Pop-Tarts wall pretty quick.
Oh, yeah, seriously. One Pop-Tart, I think, as an adult is all you're allowed to have. The Cheez-Its are good because they've got some different Cheez-It varietals. now. They've got like the white cheddar, which is really good. I think they got some with Tabasco sauce.
They've got
in
like
it.
the burned ones.
Yeah,
Yes.
the extra crispy ones. Those are really good.
Which was just a mistake, but then somebody was like, "Oh, you know,
this is really good.
Don't throw those out.
Yeah,
You're right, but the ones available were all the same. Just the
Just the plain
like,
was.
just needed to change it up. The other thing you have to watch out for, you know what media is like around an open bar, like around a hospitality suite.
Pigs.
Well, you
Pigs
get
at a trough.
you get some people drinking, and then they make the mistake around 1 a.m. I'm really hungry, but all I got are Pop-Tarts. I guess I'll eat a Pop-Tart.
All right, give me those Pop-Tarts.
Oh yeah, don't. That's not a good idea. Hey, Wednesday I'll be joining you from San Diego.
Oh,
Going
okay.
out there to see Bryce.
All right,
And,
Wednesday.
So I'll be joining you from San Diego.
Maybe you can let Bryce come on the camera and wave.
Yeah, I think we can arrange that. Sure. Thank you for being part of Murph and Andy. It is local sponsors supporting local media here on Iowa Everywhere. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your Iowa Everywhere podcasts. We're back Wednesday. I'll be in San Diego. Andy will be right here. So will AD, and we hope you'll join us then.